I'm Tats, Manahan. Um, my specialization is in fresco restoration and uh, and lime, but more fresco. So, well, just recently, Victoria's, the chapel in Victoria's, St. Joseph the Worker. This is not as bad as Tina's, okay? This is nice, short, sweet, and kind of happy because we're getting, it's small for one, and then the CSR head is very enthusiastic, and the company is very, very, very encouraging. In fact, when we go there, like they don't stop feeding us, and Conrad and his crew have so much fun because it's almost every 2 hours they let us eat. So it hampers the work, but yeah, in a good way because we eat more than we work. I mean, when the president of Victoria's is there, the wife just cooks to death and keeps on feeding us. But anyway, I think it's the first time that they are having anything restored in Victoria's. They have been they went down for a while. Short history of Victoria's. They were very prosperous in the early pre-war, okay, and then somewhere along the line, the manager kind of ran them down. After the Ossorios, who used to own it, they were very prosperous. They made it. This was the hacienda era in Bacolod, but when the sugar industry started to wobble, there was one manager after the Osorios left, whom they said just run them to the ground and mismanaged it. So it went down, but all of a sudden, I don't know. They have kind of changed their business plans. They are going into ethanol production, and so now everything is prosperous now, and this is the old Victoria's train. It's now operating again. They've revived every time it's what do you call it, harvest season. They have this train running around, so it's starting to perk up again. Okay, the church is very significant there. It's a very small church. How many square meters is that church? It's really small now. Well, Conrad did the DigiScan. He'll take you on a virtual tour later. And Miko I asked him to be my structural architect, my restoration architect, because I'm doing mainly the decoration thing. But since they had approached me and asked me to be the project coordinator for this, I said yes, because I like the church. And I asked Conrad and Miko on board, and also Tina to be my consultant for just somebody to rap with. Because later on we found out some things about what I'm going to show you later. This is the exterior. This was built in 1949, finished in 1950. The funders were the Ossorio family. Don Miguel Ossorio, who was very, very rich, married to Paz Yanco of Yanco Market in Divisoria. So on both sides, they were pretty moneyed. They built this church for the workers of Victoria. It's a very, very tight community. Okay, so these are what's fabulous about this is that, like San Sebastian, there were also community volunteers who built the church. So that's the exterior. This is the interior, and I'm sorry. Going back to the exterior, you will see later on the top here. Doesn't wanna.
Sorry.
The other way.
Two more. One more.
There. These are mosaics. These are all mosaics. and there's another one on the top here and another one on the side, and there's a baptistry. I'll show it to you later. That's one piece of work. It's a highly decorated church, and it's kind of unusual, the decoration. Inside is the 60 square meter mural of Alfonso Ossorio. This one goes floor to ceiling, and then to ceiling, and then wraps around the beams, three beams. So later we'll show you the flattened version of that, and there's a skylight over here. I'll go into detail after. This was painted by the son of Miguel Ossorio, Alfonso Ossorio, who was one of the founders of the abstract expressionist movement in New York, and one of the very famous members of that was Jackson Pollock, and the other was Mark Roscoe. The other one was William de Kooning, and there were so many others. But he's the least known. I'm still trying to CSI why he's the least known of all of those guys. He was the funder of Jackson Pollock. Jackson Pollock was poor. Ossorio was a very rich guy. In fact, he had the biggest estate in the East Hamptons called the Creeks, and he had geek speak salons like this, and concerts and all kinds of stuff. His estate was, I wrote about it in Rogue, about his estate, how the kind of life he lived, and apparently not everybody knew that side of him, because he was really filthy rich. He would finance concerts for the East Hampton group. He put up kind of clubhouse for all of them. He even paid for the movies of Jackson Pollock. And this is him at a later stage, okay, Alfonso Ossorio. The guy, I'm sorry? He was. I mean, artistically speaking, he was very prolific. He's very well known in New York. In fact, the Ossorio Foundation is in New York. Michael Rosenfeld Galleries, they were very surprised when they got a letter from me saying that my brother was picking up some catalogs from them. And they said, why do you need the catalogs? Because they were catalogs from previous exhibits of Ossorio. And I said, well, I'm part of the restoration team for the Victorious Church, of which Alfonso Ossorio's mural is the biggest work ever in the world. So they got really excited about it, and we've been like pals ever since. They write, I write. So my brother went there to pick up the catalogs, and they said, oh, you must be the sister of blah, blah, blah. So they know that there's this restoration is going on, but I don't think they fund, because they're an art gallery that carries his paintings and a lot of his work. So when I need information about his technique, et cetera, I write them, and they very gladly give me a lot of information. Okay. The church is also very unique in the sense that it was built by Antonin Raymond, who was a colleague of Frank Lloyd Wright. And among other things, he did the Woolworth Building in Chicago, and also the Imperial Hotel in Tokyo. He was based in Tokyo. He set up office in Tokyo eventually. Okay. So there.
Is it designated at all? Is it on the national record?
No.
NCCA list?
No. It's another. It's off the radar. Another off the radar. Not yet, because
Do you want it on?
Victoria's is going to do it. See, the good thing about this project is that the Victoria's group is very, very supportive of the restoration. And in fact, I cleared this presentation with them, and they were very excited. In fact, Anne, the CSR lady, really wanted to come because she said, I want to learn what you're doing. I want to, she's very enthusiastic, and she's a Rara girl inside. So, yeah. The other person who did the decoration there is Ada Bethune. This is her at her older age, but this is one of the, this is, this one, these are the, what do you call these, ortho photos that Conrad has provided. You have a facade, the facade with the birth of Jesus, and then this is all in glass collected from the community. There are beer bottles, 7-Up bottles, milk of magnesia. The blue that you see is milk of magnesia. This is all collected from, not this, okay? Not this. This, and this. These are the mosaics done by this lady, Adelaide de Bethune. She's a Belgian ecclesiastical artist, and I read up on her. Apparently, she was royalty, of an aristocrat. Her family escaped during the war. They were Belgian Jews, and they escaped and they went to America, and that's where she established herself as an ecclesiastical artist. And I suppose that's where Ossorio met her, because Ossorio was, among other things, he was highly educated. He was a Harvard guy. He was a Rhode Island guy. He One of his master's thesis was on ecclesiastical Christian iconography. So he knew his stuff, and I am just suspecting that he met this lady there, no, Ada Bethune. What is nice also about the church, I'm centralizing myself on the decoration because Miko will take you through the architecture. You won't? Okay, I will. You won't? Yeah. This one, the community, there were artists who had helped and collaborated with the Bethune and Ossorio. This guy, I actually met the son of this guy, and like Tina's volunteer who was a sacristan, this guy said, I heard you were coming, I heard you were restoring this church. My father did all the carvings here. In fact, he said, when Ossorio left, he gave my father his excess paint, which was this, okay? And it's very unusual paint, but we'll get there because that's the problem of the church. Yeah, on wood. So Ossorio had left already, so he just had the excess paint, okay? But we'll get to the ethyl silicate later. And then you have the bronze pulpit by metal guy. This is Arcadio Anore. And this is the church, the mural, right when it was finished. And you will take note of this here, because now this one is sunken. They moved the altar, so there was a change there. Everything is pretty much the same. It's just that this one, for some reason, is now sunken, and you can't really see the feet and the skull and the serpent. I don't know why they moved it, okay? So you want to do the virtual tour now or after? Okay, we'll finish this. So this is the project background. Again, these are the ortho photos. I'll go into the mosaics. This is a volunteer from Bacolod, Aji. This mosaic is on north side. This is Jesus in the temple, and if you'll notice, this is a close-up of the mosaic. They're all Filipinized faces, And this is what is special about the decoration here, because everything is Pinoy. Everybody has brown skin. Even the crucifixion has brown skin, and he has no hair. I don't have a picture of it, but the crucifix right at at the opening is a crucifix who doesn't have a beard. And then on the left side, you'll see a crucifix with hair. And according to the son of Valenciano, the carver, he said his father made the crucifix really a Filipino crucifix in keeping with the theme of the church. But he got flack for it. Said, you don't know how to do a Western Christ. So he got picon. So he did the traditional crucifix. So it's one of the few churches you see, right when you enter, there are two crucifixes. One with hair, one without hair. Okay. This is the facade of the mosaics, where you have the birth of Christ here, the death of Joseph, and then Mary taking care of Jesus as a child. What's good about the mosaics, they're practically intact. And what was nice about it is when we went up there, up on the roof here, all the pieces were just swept together and they put them in neat piles. It is almost like waiting for somebody to put it together again. You know? And there's nothing wrong with it, the mosaics. And originally, I was called to do the mosaics only. But quite by accident, I went down because I liked that mural. I asked them if I could go close to the mural because I always see it from afar. You kind of respect the sanctuary and you don't cross where the priest is supposed to go. But this time I was with two people from Victoria's and they said, sure, go. That's when I noticed, wow, there's deterioration everywhere because from afar, it looks good. Parang there's nothing going on. But when you look at it closely, then you see there are watermarks, there's infiltration, there's condensation, there's, you name it, there's probably bacteria and efflorescence. So this is the other one, Jesus at the temple. Look, there's hardly anything missing. Maybe just a few here and there. Originally pala, it was not supposed to be a mosaic. It was supposed to be a fresco. But the Bethune could not find the proper lime plaster. So she couldn't find, I guess they didn't know, it doesn't say in the records now. She said she couldn't find the right formulation for lime because to do a mosaic you have the substrate and you have another layer and then another layer. Before you can put the mosaic, you have to have a certain depth. So she couldn't find that. For a fresco, you have to have 3 substrates. So the simplest thing she could do was a mosaic. And they found all the bottles for her. Early American crockery, their plates. If you look closely, their plates and she used all of that. So it was almost like she wanted people to know that this was the brand of crockery she used. You know how at the back of the plate there's something. She would include those, and even beer. It's San Miguel beer. The brown stuff is San Miguel beer. This is the Nativity. And then the amazing thing inside the baptistry, I don't have a full picture of it because if I back out, I can't back out any further. This thing, it actually goes down into steps, and the baptism is not the usual, head baptism. It's an immersion. There's a pool. This one is really intact because this is inside. there are lots of cobwebs and dirt all over the place, and I think we just need to scrub it, and it's going to be fine. This is a sample of the exterior. There are black incrustations all over, which I suspect comes from the soot of the factory when they are processing the sugar. Here, see, that's all black, but nothing a toothbrush can't do, right? And a bit of soap. This is a missing piece, see? So what we have to do here per area, maybe we are going to grid it again, the murals, the mosaics, 2 feet by 2 feet, so that we can photograph each area and then match these shapes with the missing pieces, and then chisel out the old substrate and put in new filling before we put in the glass, replace the glass. Now, if we don't find these shapes, we have already identified a glass maker in Bacolod who can replicate the shades of glass that were used, no? So here, more, you see here, there's San Miguel. They purposely left it there. And then this is the blue. This is from like old lamps. See? And this is, it says brewer. It's San Miguel also, but it's green. So I don't know what kind of beer that is. See? Okay. Okay, we go to the structure. You want to do this, Miko, or will I? Huh? Okay. This is the unusual feature. There's a seismic gap between the nave and the sanctuary. This is the full mural. The gap is, where is it, Miko? Here, no? At the back of this? No, it's in the front. At the back? At the back, we don't have a picture of that. Okay. There is a gap in between this, the sanctuary side, and the nave here.
How big is the gap?
It's, yeah, somewhere here, see? Here. Okay. So, sorry, how big is the gap?
Yeah.
It's not very big. It's what? It's just about, what, a few millimeters like this. The reason it was put there is because Bacolod is an earthquake zone. So, for it to stay stable, they put the seismic gap in between the two, because on top of the sanctuary is a very heavy bell tower. So if there is an earthquake, it's what you call, there could be a, what you call a tonsorial twist movement, wherein one part will just twist and it will crack the building. That's the reason why there's a gap. Because the top of this one with a heavy bell tower as against the other side, which only has brick tiles on the roof, is very light. So that actually is giving us a bit of a problem, because one day we went there, it was raining, and there was water. So Miko and, what's his name? David, our structural engineer, went up on the roof, and they found that there were slabs. The top was constructed in the 1950 style of concrete slabs like this. And it was the slabs that were, the joinery of the slabs that were causing the leaks. So that's waterproofing. That's the simple part of this program. The mosaics and the structure are actually simple, the simple problem. The main problem is this, the mural, okay? And this is where we are spending a lot of time on materials research, because the binder used by Ossorio is a very strange one that is no longer in use, ethyl silicate 40. Okay. What it does actually is it's particular for cement, freshly applied cement. At first I was like floored by it, and I called Tina. What is that? You know, because I restore frescoes, not this. I do 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th century, and this is 1950, okay? The material is all different, like cement, ethyl silicate. Okay, what it actually does is, wait, I have my notes because I'm not into chemistry. What is, I have to read it. Where is it? Anyway, what it does is it's a silicate. I can go forward to that. Before I go into that, okay, these are the ortho photos of the mural. That's the front. This is the flattened view, the backs of the beams. Okay. If you notice the iconography, this one faces the Christ here. The Christ is here, this one. And I studied the whole iconography, and it's like, it's something he got from Matthew. Like I said earlier, he was very keen on ecclesiastical Christian iconography. And the stories of Lazarus who went to heaven, and he sees the rich man who is in hell, and the rich man says, please, can you just take me back, take me to where you are, because it's too hot here. Give me even just a drop of water. And his answer is, I cannot do that, because between you and me, there is a great chasm that cannot be crossed. So Ossorio knew that. So the Christ is here facing this. But see, he did it in like clown. Remember the mascara ball in the ati-atihan and all that? That's his representation of souls in hell. And Christ looking straight at him, at them, and in between there's that space. So he says, there is a chasm between us, right? And then here you have Peter and Paul, and somewhere here you have the rooster, and then here the Masonic eye, Illuminati. And then you have the Holy Spirit. And if you look at this, wait, okay. You have the hands that represent God the Father, and then the Son, and then right in front of the Christ on the first beam is the Holy Spirit. And the explanation of Ossorio is from John 3:16, for God so loved the world, gave his only beloved Son, that all may be saved. So he has it almost in 3D. And this is the backside. There's the rooster of Peter. And where is the scroll? There's a scroll of Paul somewhere, because he was the scribe, right? Here, the backside. And then you have all these faces. These ones we haven't studied yet. So this is the whole thing. There is a skylight in the middle, because when the sun shines at about 5 o'clock 7 o'clock in the morning, it shines straight on the face. And it's time that the sun rises, and I think when the host is raised. So it was all studied, because he knew what he was doing. He wasn't just painting. He knew where he was coming from. Okay, wait, I'll go back. Going back to ethyl silicate. I can't find my, wait. Okay, these are the things we found. If you notice, they're grids. Okay, these are grid marks because apparently the way they constructed roofs in the 50s was to pour concrete by section and then seal them with a grouting compound or a joinery material. So those are the leaks that deteriorated, the joinery that deteriorated. And it's very consistent. So you have water seepage, these are watermarks. And maybe this is efflorescence or delamination. This one for sure is salt migration here. The illness of the painting is really very simple. It's the material that is difficult to, it's difficult to identify what consolidating material we ought to use. Again, you have delamination here, you have hairline cracks, which apparently these were caused, this is right under the bell tower. And according to Miko, the bell has no damper. And this could be a direct result of the reverberation from every time the bell rings down. Now the bell is out of commission. It needs to be fixed. Thank God for that, because otherwise they'll be ringing the bell, and we'll get more cracks. I don't know how many years ago when it first got destroyed. This is supposed to be vertical, okay, but it's supposed to be like that. My picture is baliktad. It, which one? The back? This one?
It's still wet.
It gets
What are
wet.
you guys gonna do?
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm jumping the gun.
No, it's okay. I think we'll have to find, I might have to or inject.
But for the damper, like what if they put the bell back?
The bell's still there, but it's not ringing. Miko thinks that if they put a damper, it will be okay. Yeah, it might be okay. Okay, those are, see, this is about the biggest crack that we found. It's 0.5 mm. And it's, please imagine it vertical. My picture is baliktad. See, and then also this is the foot of the Jesus, baliktad. It's going like, and you have all these strange marks. Like, they look like drips. And then this is what Tina and I have been discussing forever. What is that? There's a blue on the top and then there's a green on the under. From her point of view as a conservator, she's saying, oh, that could be condensation marks, right? Or
Well, just moisture.
moisture.
Growth or some kind of moisture-related thing.
From a painter's point of view, I'm saying the blue is an overglaze that deteriorated and exposed the greenish brown under. So we have two schools of thought here. So we're still trying to determine what is what. Is there an overglaze, or is it just a discoloration because of the water? Yeah. See here again, we have marks. Again here, there are, it's not that clear, but there are sweat marks. This is poo mark, okay? Those are poo marks. But there are this bird drippings. But here, you see that there are water marks coming down. I suspect they are exterior water marks, and there are these white things. And then here, it looks like someone overpainted it. Because we had an original picture, his eyes were brown, not blue.
Wow.
And there are these streaks, like, like, why is he jaundiced? Like, there are blue streaks here, right? This is the underside, and you see the full range of deterioration and everything that you have: salt migration, deterioration, condensation, all of that. This becomes a problem because they are very hot lights. It could be, this is the earthquake gap, this one. And this is a fluorescence right at the joints. And here you see these look more like, these are the concrete slabs, right? And so you see it, it's pretty consistent. The deterioration is along those lines, right?
So water would flow in through the gap and
Possibly.
crawl along that
Yeah.
line?
Like in San Sebastian, it finds its own pathway. It will go wherever it wants to go. So I'm starting to think that we should really look into stabilizing the masonry also. But there is a problem about stabilizing the masonry because it's a back-to-back mural. So if you put a consolidant like Conservare, OH100, it's going to, where are you going to put it? Back or from here, inside, or the back? At the back, there's a mural of Bethune on the exterior wall. So you can't put it there. You can't put it here either. So that's a problem. Hmm?
The bite was dry. We checked it out with the moisture meter. Was
This
it
one?
dry?
This
We
one?
didn't get up there, yeah.
What was your reading on the moisture meter? Yeah, because that was the other problem. Because it's a province, we have very bad scaffolds, and we haven't been really able to touch the ceiling. So we have to go. They give us this, rickety, no, rusty, parang you climb and you get tetanus, So the next trip, they promised me they will have proper scaffolding. I said, we cannot do the full study, okay? This, again, is the question that we're tossing around. Is this an overglaze? Is it like what do you call it, olive green painted, and this pinky white, it's a pinky white, painted over? Yeah, Tina thinks that it's a discoloration of sort.
Or something to do with, like, parang
With
it's
a-
pigment specific.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's weird, no? It's very weird. Yeah, it looks like amoeba. The deterioration is amoeba, and it doesn't look like the usual deterioration. Yeah. See, it stays within here. Oh. So, is it a pigment or binder reaction one against the other, or maybe a pigment against the pigment, no? We have to identify this pigment against that pigment because it's not happening here. And there are particular colors only where it happens. Okay, we discovered a repaint. This is acrylic. Okay, we go into the investigating the original materials. We need to do that because we need to get to the compatibility with restoration consolidants and solvents. And we have this whole, this is just the consolidant and solvent research that I've done. And that's not all yet. I still have another folder with more of that. And then how it deteriorates also, how we have to find out. So there's a lot of testing that needs to be done. And how long is the lifespan of the consolidants that we're going to use, right? This is the problem, ethyl silicate 40 here. It contains ethyl polysilicates that give a silica content of 40%. It's quick drying, rapid rate of evaporation, and when mixed with pigments has a binding action on fine particles. But it has a very strong color permanence, and that's the reason why up to now that mural still has that vibrancy of color, because the action is like here. The action is like a, where is that? Of a lime and plaster. See, when a fresco, what happens is when the pigment is put into the substrate, there are 3 substrates in a fresco: thick, less thick, and the thin substrate. That's where you paint, where you put the pigment. Once it's, and fresco means wet plaster, not the way we do it here, dry. That's a seco, meaning dry. Once you put the pigment, the lime, the action of the lime, it cements the pigment within the plaster. And that's why it's sturdy. And a fresco, when you, if it deteriorates, you see that the color is still there because it's driven in. It's actually, yeah, it's cemented in. Okay, the action of the silicate when it dries also is like that. So it's like a fresco, but not quite. It's a stronger material. It's a stronger material. So, and that's what gives you the color stability and the permanent, it's the permanence of the pigments themselves. And unlike an oil paint, when you're binder, like linseed oil, there is a film that encases it. This one is not, with a fresco, and this one, the ethyl silicate binder, it just stays there. What you see is the true color of the pigment because there's no film. There's no film of the binder, okay? And that's why it gives you the vibrance.
What were the pigments again?
They were all, well, what I discovered is cadmium red, cadmium green. There were a lot of them were cadmiums. So they are supposed to be compatible with these silicates. So, okay. So I get to the question of finding a solvent that will clean the watermarks and to identify the speckling and to identify the compatible paint for restoration. Like, as it was mentioned earlier, the wrong restoration can really cost you your life down the road. Okay, so the permanence and durability of whatever it is I'm going to use. So far, after a lot of deduction, I have more or less, it's almost as though I can use already a product from this German company called Keim. Lasur. It's because they have a silicate paint. But, okay, they are assuring me that, yes, this is it. I gave them all the specs of my problems in Keim, and they said, this is what it is. We can assure you that this is what the paint is, but I still have no solvent. I still have no grouting system for those cracks. Do I inject? They're telling me, you have to remove the paint and then put re-cement. I said, no, I can't do that, you know. I can't touch that because it's a heritage thing. So they haven't answered.
Who are you speaking to? Is this me in Kuwait?
No, wait. John something.
Time is potassium silicate, di ba? Not
Potassium silicate, but he says it is totally compatible with ethyl. That's what he said.
Use the buffer OH, the ethyl silicate.
Which one? The Silibond?
No, the conservar.
It's too stiff.
Diluted lang, dissolvent.
I have to try that. It's a little bit, yeah, it's a little bit scary. Okay, there's another product that we look into. If you want to look at this and try and understand it, yeah, okay. It's called OH100, done by Prosoco. It's. I think this one is better for San Agustin, for the exterior. Yeah, because it's specific for masonry, and they don't advise it for a painted surface. That's what they said. They cannot guarantee.
Of course, they'll see that. I'll give you the name of the.
So yeah, I need a second opinion. See, this is like CSI, or the diagnostic is always the hard part, because this is what, 65, it's not like San Sebastian, it's 65 years old, but this is 20th century architecture. It's one of the few that we have, right? That looks like that. So I'm also being very conservative in my testings, and because I don't want to ruin it. There's a foundation in his name. I mean, parang you're going to get clobbered, So the question here is reversibility. Because, because whatever paint I use, whatever consolidating paint I use, is almost sure that it's irreversible. And that goes against principles of conservation, because it always says you need to use a reversible consolidating material. For a fresco, you use watercolor. Watercolor bleeds on this thing. It's not going to cut it. I tried it. It just drips.
Hindi dumidikit?
No, because it has a silicate. It just drips, it bleeds this way. No matter how thick you put it, it just.
Or what about the next best thing to reversible? Because reversible is so hard to live by, di ba? What
I
about
know.
retreatable?
Like how?
Like, if something better comes along, can it be treated again, and will it accept that new material?
That's a good question. Yeah, I have to look into that too. Because, for example, this is acrylic. I have to get it out.
You have to.
I have to. Unless I say, okay, I'll be very conservative, and if this is a restoration, I'll leave it as is and mark it as a previous restoration to mine. Then it's recorded, right? I didn't do that. So that's the other way out, no?
Ako ni Ossorio nag-paint with it.
No, it's not this one for sure, because we have it's not here. You can see not naman the stratification, but you see the separation of this color from that. Yeah. So that is the question. Like, do you do it reversible? If so, what? Diba? Because the way it looks like now from my end is I have to do an irreversible repainting of the watermarks, because the watermarks, it seems, cannot be removed. It looks like it's permanent, I can remove the efflorescence, I can remove the condensation marks, but the delamination, it needs to be painted over.
It would not, mural, if you're painting on canvas and there's damage in the canvas, so let's say a portion was defaced permanently, what would happen to that? Because if the shoulder was defaced permanently
On a canvas,
on canvas, would you try to reconstruct it?
okay, yeah, you reconstruct it, but there is a method of reconstructing anything that anything that is destroyed, especially if they're old. You cannot paint over it as a rule. You have to use what you call, in Italian you call sottotono. It's one tone lighter than the original.
Because I think it's an interesting question, the reversibility and the conveying of the message of the work. I think that's where judgment comes in. That well, clearly the damage, especially the white mark, the dark marks on the white on the white areas, they compromise the message. So, I think that an irreversible removal of the compromising of the message might be one thing you might have to consider.
Could be. Could be. But right now, parang my thinking is I may have to go with the irreversible restoration, and I have several choices of paint. All of them highly toxic, carcinogenic, affects the kidneys and the lungs.
Only to the painter or people using
To
the
everyone. Okay, I'm really wondering how come Osorio lived so long? Because yeah, because what I forgot to mention, the way he painted this, the prescription which he got directly from Ralph Mayer. He's the guy who did all the initial paint books, artist materials, etc. And I found it in one of my old books, ethyl silicate 40, because it's not even on the net. It's just ethyl silicate, which is different from ethyl silicate 40. The 40 is very important there. So he says that you need, it's like preparing paints for fresco. You need to use the material within 2 hours of the mix. And from what I read and how Osorio did it in Bacolod, he actually installed a grinding ball in the sanctuary close to where he was painting, because if you don't use, and I think he did color by numbers. And this is the reason why it's segmented this way. Okay.
He would paint all the reds. Then
Yeah. See, it's all color by numbers. So his assistant will mix all the reds and he'll paint all the red. It dries within 2 hours. The material dries within 2 hours. After that, it becomes a gel, it hardens, and it's useless. Okay? So every morning he has this, he probably pre-plans, he chalked in everything. He chalked in everything. So it's really, and he had assistants, doing parts. I'm pretty sure he did the faces and the hands and maybe the feet. It was toxic. It was, okay, it was, that's why parang my next investigation is how did those people die? Because they're all dead. Diba? Like, what did they die of? Liver, lungs, the eyes, are they blind, you know, because it can make you blind if it, they didn't wear goggles.
Yeah, yeah.
They didn't wear masks. They had no gloves. So what did they die of? Diba? Well, sa bagay, it's well ventilated, no? This place. But still, if you're inhaling that stuff every day for 6 months, diba? They probably were all high already. So he had that grinding ball, and um, at the time he painted this, ethyl silicate 40 had just come out in the market in America. And because he was very rich, I guess he could, yeah, he could. He said, wow, yeah, okay. And he had direct contact with Ralph Mayer himself. So he just sent it over. It was shipped. And that's why it took a long time for him to paint. But in the meantime, he was able to chalk in everything already. Right when it came out, he got his shipment here.
And then it's been discontinued, or you can still get it?
It's still continued, but it's used in another way. It's used for metal and stone consolidation. But it's not mixed anymore with pigments.
So do an
So
Ossorio.
if it's still around,
know.
why is it?
Mix it. That's why. The other material I have here is Silibond, ethyl silicate 40, and you mix it with a pigment, which means I'll have to install a grinding ball in the sanctuary.
Same thing.
Sure naman you can get pigments.
Get assistant.
Yeah, who will die for me?
Doon sila sa labas tatapos.
In this case, I think I have to break my rules. I think I have to break the rules. In a fresco restoration or in any restoration, it has to be one shade lighter with all due respect to the painter who did it. Like if you are restoring a Michelangelo fresco, you cannot, this is an Italian thing already, you cannot paint over him. You have to identify that it's a restoration, and not only that, you cannot paint it thoroughly. You have to do very thin lines in one tone lighter or broken lines to identify the restoration. It's a form of documentation and a respect for the master's work. That's what it is. Sorry? No, no, it's not acceptable restoration. Okay, case in point is San Agustin, which we are supposed to be restoring, but it's at a standstill because the original paint done by Alberoni, which was, and I forgot the other painter, huh? Di Bella. Di Bella and Alberoni. They painted a secco. Whoever restored the painting in the choir loft must have copied the design and then replicated, covered it with latex paint, and then reproduced the design of Alberoni
Using latex.
using latex, Boysen.
Low VOC.
Yeah. And the painting, so when I went there we have the photo documentation. The long and short of it is, it's lost. The original is lost because by putting the latex over, you actually choke the lime on which the original was painted. When I tore it, the powder fell. Alberoni's ashes. Huh? Diba? So,
Didn't tear it.
yeah, I did. Yeah, I said it was already it was like this, it was like pleating. And it was like flowering and pleating, so I just tore it and it crunched away and the powder fell. And I showed it to the priest. I have little bowls of latex paint and little powder with Alberoni's ashes. Yeah, so that probably it will be a Conrad job, a Conrad and Fung job. They just have to document the whole thing, and then the students of Escuela Taller have to do full-size stencils, rip the whole thing apart and reproduce it, call Guy Custodio and reproduce it. That's what it's gonna happen. That's
With special iPhone cardboard.
yeah, the cardboard things. So that's the problem there. In yeah,
Think about that. In some conservation circles, it's still kind of an ongoing debate how to treat infills. Like,
how
in
to
a
treat.
painting, for example, infills. Like if it's not
Ah.
original, ask the restorer. If you're gonna infill it in a lighter shade, in the end you will detract from the overall appreciation of the paint.
Yes.
So then, sort of what you do, respect the master, but yet have it retain the aesthetic.
I don't think I will do, like I said, I think I will break my rule, the rule of restoration, because of the material.
Could it be like, from a certain vantage point, it's perfect. It's really upon closer examination that you see the lines of the edge. Maybe that's one of some kind of a compromise where the message is still intact from, let's say, outside the sanctuary, but then when you do have that privileged position being, a foot away from the image, then that's what you see.
Again, you need to,
Doing the dots.
I have to
Impressionist.
consult with the community
Giling-giling.
because
They'll probably say they want it
yeah,
away.
yeah, that's what's gonna happen.
Beautiful.
But the thing about this painting, like in a fresco, it's easy to do that kind of restoration without it being detectable from afar because of the material, because it's a porous, because of the lime substrate and the watercolor is absorbed by the porosity of the lime. That's fine. It, it looks okay. But this one, it's color by numbers and it's so bright that if you go one tone lighter, it's gonna be seen. Like if I go one tone lighter, let's say in one of those okay, in one of those, can you imagine what that's going to look like if there's a lighter here? And how will I cover that with lighter?
Yeah.
It's so, the deterioration is kind of like amoeba-like. In a fresco, it's easy because it chalks away. So there's a definite area where you can do the trateggio, the lines, no? But in something like this, you can't do lines here only and then there and then there and then there.
Oo. Impressions.
That's another method.
How far
What
is
you
it
call
from the mill?
puntillo. It's right there.
So you could be getting the,
The suit, yeah.
the acid, sugar.
That happens probably in the mosaics. But here, this is protected, yeah. You could do pointillist because that's also another restoration technique for, it's broken lines, full lines, dots, and what you call like a wash on the top. But I'm not sure how that will stand with this kind of painting that is so vibrant.
The most time consuming would be what?
The restoration of this
No, but what method will it be a matter of,
time consuming, the pointillist. Yeah. We could do it that way, but this is the what we're doing. I asked Conrad to divide, to flatten the elevations of the mural. See, he flattened it, and to give me like 2 by 2 grids. That way I can number all the grids and identify each deterioration per 2 by 2 grid. That's the reason why I asked Conrad to do that, so that I know exactly how, because it's all different there. So that's, and he did it for me. This is what makes work easier with digital stuff, you know.
Did you get the working drawings or research, the background of that from the
They're,
Ossorio Foundation?
they don't have it, okay? They don't even know about this painting as much
The
as
one I told him.
this was the only document that exists regarding this is a collection of 300 paintings he did while he was here, but it had nothing to do with the painting. It had everything to do with his angst about coming back.
Did you
So,
sign any of this? Is there a signature?
yeah. But they're all with the Ossorio Foundation. He mailed them all to another artist,
This
Jean
one
de
is
Buffet.
signed?
No, no. There's no signature.
Abstract expressionist. So this is like it's only figurative.
No, earlier it was very figurative. In fact, his drawings, he was very, very technical in his drawings, very like Dürer. His style was like Dürer, the German painter, Albrecht Dürer. That was his style, you know. So this one, I think he devised this precisely because of the material he was using. Paint by numbers. That's my suspicion lang. It's the easiest way to do it. But at the same time, look, it's so full. Oh? Even if you say paint by numbers, it's so full. There's not 1 inch of empty space. Yeah. So there, that is the problem there. It's an easier problem than Tina's because it's a smaller church. It's a chapel. And the only big thing is this mural. The mosaics are really easy, but this is the one that's, and the thing is, this one is the one that identifies the church. It's called the Church of the Angry Christ. So that's the one. Yeah. So that's why I'm very, very, very careful because it's the centerpiece of the church.
When you say you need to test solvents before deciding which one to use, where are you going to test it?
In
On a
one corner, yeah.
Okay.
In one corner. And then, you know, a couple of days, see how it works.
Is Angry Christ Ossorio's term or just
No.
the community?
No, it's Angry Christ actually came from a journalist, an American journalist who visited Victoria's and said and called it the Angry Christ. In fact, he referred to that from, I printed it out here. Sinners in the hands of an angry Christ. That's the background of that.
The problems you're describing about I mean, at that same time, it's 1949, right?
1950. The church was 1949.
Was Rivera painting at the time? Or
Diego de Rivera.
Yes, yes.
were they using the same materials?
No, he was not. He was using, I checked that out. Because everybody says, oh, it looks Mexican, oh, it looks like Diego de Rivera. But if you look at the 2 paintings, the styles are really very different. He was using,
Similar problems in, like,
he was using an acrylic. So it's easier to identify his material. This one, he was rich. That's the problem. He could afford to ship it. And his father was still alive. So his brother, by the way, who was the head, who commissioned this one, Frederick Ossorio, was a monuments man, became a monuments man. The guys who retrieved the paintings from the Germans.
It's a reference. This is a
Yeah, it is. That's where it came from. That's where that journalist got it from.
1741.
Yeah,
Term.
the term came from there. So I read the whole thing. Like, okay, what's he doing here? Diba? Parang nerd, ano. So these are all the, these are all our studies. And this is the whole research. And this is Conrad's. Okay. Conrad might want to give us a tour.
What's important thing?
I'm Conrad Alampay from DigiScript. We were the ones, of course, working with Tats and Miko for the Angry Christ. What we did was really the first stage of capturing the data, baseline data that we do with our technology called what we call 3D laser scanning. It's a technology that captures measurements at 50,000 points a second very, very rapidly so that we can come up with measurements, really the as-built data of any structure. I'm not sure if you've watched Nat Geo, but this is the same technology that's been shown the past couple of months. It's called time scanners on National Geographic. And it's really the way they use also for analyzing structures that have been built in the past. So they use this to study world-renowned heritage structures. So we've been involved in this technology since 2009 and have been using this over the course of 2 years with the Heritage Group, with the National Museum more recently. So just to show you a bit of that. And really the process is very simple and straightforward, but this illustrates really the step-by-step way we would gather. We first bring out the equipment, scanner out on the site. We would scan from different locations. The next step would be how to consolidate all these different scans into one integrated 3D model, which is what we call registration. From there, we produce the as-built measurements, which we also did for the San Sebastian with the deformation maps that Tina showed you. And then from there, we are able to use and analyze and share the data with the different stakeholders. So this is us scanning in front of the chapel on the roof. At the time, this was fun. But this first time, we've actually scanned on a roof because it was quite easy to access. This is us and Tats at the time. And this is where we scan. All these locations. This is a plan view of the entire chapel. The triangles represent where we would set up our scan locations. And from there, we would consolidate. So from one location, we can actually see at a range of 300 meters from one spot. So when we scan from all these vantage points, we come up with a consolidated 3D model with measurements. And that's what I'll take you through. This is what the raw scan looks like. It's what we call intensity view. It's based on the ability of the laser to reflect on the surface. So this is like a false color of the laser scan. But since the laser scanning, we also integrate colored photos. So we have the true color on top of the measurements. That's how we were able to come up with the data that Tat showed you. All came from the laser data and photographs. Yes.
How does it register the false color?
Well,
It reads the morphology.
yeah,
It doesn't read color.
it doesn't read color. It picks up so the lighter the color, the green, the more intense the color, the lighter the surface. So on a white surface, it would be more intense. On a darker or blue or black, it would become like a more orangey or even no return. Because it works on the ability for the laser to reflect back and give you a measurement. So, and we're now measuring every 2 to 5 millimeters, we have a measurement. So now it looks like what looks like a picture is actually a bunch of points, which we call point clouds. And from there, this is actually now consolidated. This is the entire walkthrough of the site. So it gives us the ability to really navigate, walk through. These are the murals on the mosaics on the facade. These are the other paintings that we showed you earlier. These are the mosaics on top, on each side. So now we can understand, location, scale. The gap is in between here. Yeah, I can zoom into that. There, this is the mural behind that, right behind the main, yeah. So this is actually located in a big park or garden, but I had to filter those out for us to be able to see the entire church. So that takes us through the exterior. All right. And then the next slide will give you a walkthrough of the interior. So everything you see here are made of the millions and millions of points that are measurable to come up with the as-built drawings, which I'll show you in a minute. So, all right. So from there, this is where we come up with what we call the orthophotos, or we basically have a perspective, a perpendicular perspective of the ceiling, reflected ceiling plan with all the colors, and we mapped out high-resolution photographs on top of our scans so that everything is one-to-one scale. All right. And then again, I think Tats showed this earlier. So what you see here is the outline of the scans, which will give you how to map out properly the photos onto the mosaic, the murals here. So those are each of the beams individually, right? Main one. And then from here, what was important more than anything was we could come up also with total area. Since the laser measurements picks up every measurement on the surface, we can now compute surface area, which will help us also identify how much material we might need to use. This is the baptistry that I think Tina was trying to show earlier. This is that pool. So, sorry, that Tats was showing earlier down here. It goes down the baptistry area. All right, and then
This is the back mural.
yeah.
That's the back or exterior of the Ossorio mural.
Mm-hmm.
So if you consolidate that, it's going to be a problem because the other side, no, the two walls, yeah, it's back to back. So it's what you do on one wall affects the other one. That's the process.
And then we also showed individually the different mosaics on the rooftop with the missing pieces, which were collected in this just below. And then one of the main outputs we had was really the as-built drawings, which at the time there were no records of the drawings and measurements, so we came up with that together with the laser scan data. So all of this, elevations, this is a section through exactly through the center.
That image is just derived from the program. No one has touched it.
Oh no, this one we had to draft in AutoCAD, but we're now tracing off the point data, so laser scan data. So it's very precise, but it's not automatic. It's not an automatic drawing, but you have to manipulate the data in a way to project it in an elevation or section view. And then I think that's pretty much really what we did. So from here, I think that ours was our survey took around 2 days on site, and then it took us around 2 to 3 weeks to come up with all the other, almost 3 weeks. So within a month, we were able to provide the as-built drawings, the orthophotos, measurements, and then come up with more detailed drawings of the gap in between. So, a reminder, let's change. Okay, so this is the gap that we were talking about. So that's how it's connected to this. Well, we took it at a certain, at one point, it was only at 21 millimeter. But it varies. It's at that point where we took it here, it was around just 21. Yeah, I don't think I have that drawing here. No. This is some of the. So that's pretty much really, I think Tats went through a lot of it already, and just want to show you a quick walkthrough and how our approach for the documentation of the as-built. So. It's in 3D. So there. Thank you.
The work you did for San Sebastian's logo,
That was.
so how do you survive?
Well, that was we were doing a lot of marketing at the time. We really had to promote the technology. We also wanted to of course, help the cause for the church. So we definitely did a few free projects at the start. And right now, I mean, we still do, like the Manila Cathedral, we also did that pro bono. But yeah.
Yeah, what's your bread and butter?
Well, we do this, a lot of the work we do is for engineering, mechanical systems, Alampay oil and glass platform. The technology, because it's used for many applications. We even use it for crime scene investigation. This is also used for crime scene mapping. So when there's a crime or during the, I can show that. I have a few slides on that. How we've used it for the Hong Kong hostage taking to map out. So there's really, we also sell the technology. So there's a few groups who've also purchased the technology because we do the training, technology turnover, but we also do the services. Right now, well, my passion is really in the heritage. That's why I spend a lot of time doing this. And we are doing, of course, paid projects also. Like for the National Museum, they engaged us for certain projects. So we have to bid. For government projects, of course, there's bidding. And we have to go through that whole process. And at this stage, we have someone that does scanning, but he does not do the same. He does not know how to produce the output. So definitely, we are. I would say we're the only ones who. Yeah. But that's right. I mean, the article covered that whole. The article that you wrote covered the several industries of how it's been used.